Where we are now.
Hello. Hey guys, thanks so much for coming here. My name is Morgan Hoffman. I'm one of the hosts on Inner Space, which airs on the Space Channel and MTV. So let's get right to it. We're going to bring Matthew out. I'm going to ask him a couple of questions off the top. Then we'll go to you guys, and I'll try to get everybody. So just make sure you have your questions ready. Put your hand up, and I'll try to get to everyone, okay? All right, well, starting off, I think Matthew Wood has one of the coolest resumes ever. He's worked at Lucasfilm for over 20 years. He's a supervising sound editor for the Clone Wars every episode, the prequel trilogies, the voice of General Grievous. I mean, it just goes on. And yeah, I'm pretty sure he works at Skywalker Ranch. That's his job, which couldn't get cooler than that. So please, everybody, welcome Matthew Wood. Being here.
Hey, thanks for waiting.
No, good. So how are you having a good time in Toronto so far?
It's been great. Yeah, I'm having a good time. Everyone's very friendly.
Good.
The weather's just been amazing.
Can I just tell you, this is like summer weather compared to what we've had to go through this past winter, right? It's been scary. We're Canadians, we're used to it. So obviously your resume is just incredible. Just naming a couple of things I did off the top. I just want to know, what is it like having George Lucas as your boss?
That was a dream come true for sure. I mean, I gotta say, like when I was a kid, I loved Star Wars, and I remember the first time I ever learned what a director was from who George Lucas was. I was probably 5 or 6, and there was that Marvel comic. It was a big, oversized Star Wars comic. And it was it was New Hope, episode 4, and I'm reading it, and I got to the very end of the comic book, and there was a picture in there of Alec Guinness as Obi-Wan Kenobi on the Tunisia set, sitting next to this guy. Who is that? Some hairy guy with a beard and wearing his brown coat, and I asked my mom, I'm like, well, I don't remember that guy in the movie. Who is that guy? And she's like, that's the director. I'm like, oh, the actors just don't make the movie? It's not just... She's like, no, there's a director. So George Lucas, I was like, oh, I got kind of obsessed about who that was. And I remember sending away for my first, what was that? The Boba Fett toy you could send away for when New Hope came out. It was a, you cut out the little proof of purchases and send it away, and I thought it was going to George Lucas to Skywalker Ranch, and he was going to give it personally. So yeah, so working with him though, he's completely down to earth guy. He's the most average, ordinary, everyday billionaire you'll ever meet. But very, very nice man, and he's still. The company has the intellectual property. The company's been purchased by Disney this year or last year, but the facility that we work at, Skywalker Ranch and Skywalker Sound, is still on his property, and he still owns the property, and he still works out there. So, I think he's deserved to retire by this time. He's had a long and productive film career, but I'll always have a special place in my heart for him, and I love working out there. So.
Do you remember what your first job was at Skywalker Sound?
Well, my first job at Lucasfilm actually was testing video games. So I was 17 years old, and I got
17.
Yeah. I got a job out there working. I was on a little BBS, which was before the internet, this little modem pool of things where you could go in and chat online, and someone had posted a job for a quality assurance technician in Nicasio, California. And this is when, before the internet, everyone could figure out where Skywalker Ranch was and everything. It was kind of hidden. Skywalker Ranch was like this hidden mythical place to know about. And didn't even know the address of where it was. But my uncle had done some work in the film world, and he told me that it was in Nicasio. And everything else that was in that town was farm, agriculture, and nothing else. I was like, quality assurance technician, that's got to be for Lucasfilm.
Yeah.
And so I asked my dad, I was living at home, I was in high school, I said, I want to get this job, and he said, we got to make a resume. I was like, what do I do? And then he's like, just type it up. So I got a Mac Write, my little thing, and I typed up, just tell them all the video games you play. And so I just typed up a list of all the video games I played, and then like, I was like, do I put like height on there? Like,
Yeah.
high school, like I don't have any
Oh, weird.
qualifications. And the very bottom of the resume, it's like extra facts, and it's like in excellent health, living with parents. So that's I just found that resume recently too. It was like, oh,
You need to frame that.
But then the funny thing was, my dad does a lot of business with overseas work, and so he had a fax machine. This was like 1989. At home, he had a fax machine. So I was able to figure out through some social engineering what the fax number was at Lucasfilm. And so I faxed my resume to them, and I got a call back immediately. They're like, did you just fax? Resume here, what the whole office is talking about it. No one's ever faxed a resume. So I went to the top of the pile, and I got to talk to them, and I went out there and met the quality assurance technicians, and I got a job, and so that's how I started there. And I just was able to work with the ranks through somehow.
That
24 years later.
Yeah, that may be one of the best stories I've ever heard.
It was a fun time.
Well, being, a huge Star Wars fan, you get to work with the iconic sounds that, when someone says Star Wars, you think of, how R2-D2 sounds,
Yeah.
lightsabers. What is it like for you, being a fan, being able to work with those sounds on a daily basis, from the Clone Wars to the prequel trilogy?
Well, one thing that's been really interesting in Skywalker Sound, we do more than just the Star Wars movies. I mean, the company was created to make George's Star Wars films, so that was one of its primary functions. But in the off times, we would do his movies.
In the off time, I work on Spielberg films.
We do Pixar's films, and now we do 50 films a year, if not more. But the Star Wars library has always been restricted to just the Star Wars movies or any of the ancillary Star Wars projects. So it used to be those 1/4-inch tapes locked in a vault, and they were in red. All the tapes were red tapes. So it's only the red tapes. You can't pick them out unless it's an official thing. Because they want to keep those sounds, special. So R2-D2 and the lightsabers and Chewbacca and the Raiders and the TIE Fighters and the Falcon and all these amazing sounds don't get used in other movies, and it has a special pretension to Star Wars. So I remember putting those reel-to-reel tapes up when I first started. I just put in my headphones and listening to the carbon freezing chamber by itself. Oh, it's so cool.
Yeah.
And Ben Burt, who is my mentor, made all those sounds back in the 70s, and I had a great working relationship with him, because I was able to teach him digital technology and how to use computers and do the editorial process in a non-linear computer way, and he was able to teach me a lot of his art of sound design and how I created stuff. So we go out on recording assignments together. So when the prequels happened, I was promoted to be the supervisor with him.
Right.
And we did the prequels together and went on amazing recording expeditions together, and that was just a total dream come true. Doing all the stuff we did for the pod rigs, which is one of my favorite things for sound in the prequels, just recording all the different jets and vehicles and boats, and then all the creatures we made together and everything. So and he still works out there. So Ben, I'm planning on working on episode 7 with Ben as well.
Oh yes, I read that. Well, obviously you can't say anything about episode 7. You've signed your life away, but what's the vibe like, gearing up for such a highly anticipated film?
Super exciting, I gotta say, because when George was going to retire, it's a private company. I mean, we weren't publicly traded or anything, so he could have just said, I'm done, the whole thing, and that's it. Star Wars is over. But he wanted to ensure that we were going to be able to all the employees of the pretty massive company, Industrial Light and Magic and Skywalker Sound, and so he wanted to make sure that we could continue on. And he's a real big fan of Disney. And there was already so many Disney connections with Star Wars. There was the Star Tours ride, and then the Disney in Orlando has a whole Star Wars section of the park. And he's always admired Walt Disney and everything. So
kind of did a really nice merge then.
Yeah, Disney took us, and they've had a pretty good track record with Marvel and Pixar, and so it made sense. And that now they're geared, they want to use us the people that made the previous films to make new ones. So we're that. And the focus of Lucasfilm, the company now, is to make movies. And so we want to make a lot of Star Wars films.
Yeah.
So that's very exciting. And J.J. Abrams is somebody that I've worked with on his last 2 or 3 films. I did a little help on the first Star Trek, but I did Star Trek Into Darkness and Super 8. So it was just very coincidental that he was now tasked to direct 7, and so I can take my Star Wars knowledge there and look at him and do it together. So it's very exciting.
Very exciting time. Well, I'm always so curious too, the process of the supervising